In this video tutorial, we're going to look at some of the audio features in Adobe Premiere Pro and look at a strategy you can use to mix the audio, make adjustments when you're cutting a news story on a very tight deadline. First, let me map out the workflow for you. Typically, this is the order in which you want to sort of do these tasks. First, we want to get a sense of whether we can fix the audio or adjust the audio right there at the source level. So right off the bat, we have things that have just been imported into all of these bins. So I may want to go through and check all the clips, and especially my sound bites, my reporter stand-up, my voiceover track, my important audio tracks essentially, and check the levels, check the settings there, and I could adjust them at what we call the source level. Another way to put it is our good friend Jeff Greenberg says, fix it before you mix it. So let me look at that. Let's say we're going to do some source side adjustments. That's what we'll focus on in this video. The next video will deal with how to do the adjustments in the timeline. And one of the things I want to go through again is a sort of a procedure. I want to first look at the channels, meaning the audio channels. Do I have the audio equal levels in the left and the right channel? It's like when you're listening with your headphones, the left ear and the right ear. You want to be able to have that equal sound for voiceovers and sound bites. So let's start by looking at a few clips from the interview. So let's just play through this clip just for a few seconds. And what we're going to do is keep our eye on this right here. This is our audio meter. And this is going to give us a volume readout. And here's the scale for decibels. Decibels full scale. It's like a digital audio scale. And we're going to watch where the peaks are. We're also going to look for the channels. This is the left channel. And of course, this is the right channel. So we can make that a little bit bigger. So let's go ahead and just listen to a little bit of this. This is just as it came in from the camera. And then we've imported it into Premiere.
Visions as to what your treatment will be. But my BRCA 1 and 2 was negative. But they said it's still...
Okay, you see already right there, we're getting audio in the left channel, so we're going to have to fix the channels. One of the things I can do is I can right-click on the clip and then search through a couple of options to get to modify the channels. A faster way, remember, if we're using our keyboard commands, is to just hit the Shift-G key, and it's going to bring up my Modify Clip box. Notice right here, so for Sue's track, we've got audio, left audio in the left channel. Now, the right channel has nothing because that microphone doesn't pick up in two channels. All I have to do is change this little check mark and say, okay, take the audio from the left on that source clip and put it over into the right channel in Premiere. Let's see what happened. I'll click OK. There we go. So we still have the issue with the gain. She's peaking way too high, but let's watch some more.
Yeah.
Good. That's the reporter asking a question there. But you see that we got left and right, so we fixed that. That was really good. The problem, though, is that all of these interview clips were shot with that same microphone. I just fixed one. If I bring up one of the other interview clips, this is from interview 2, different angle. Notice same problem. Got only the left channel. But here's a good thing. Let's go ahead and highlight all of these clips. Since I know all of the interviews with Sue came off the same mic, I can just shift-click all of these and then do Shift-G and say I want to fix the channels on all of them. I want to remap them the same so that that strong left audio goes to both left and right channels in Premiere. So I'll see it across the, and there we go. Okay, now that we've got the channels adjusted, we have to tackle the gain. And that's the next step in our workflow. After channels, we'll address the gain. And this deals with the relative loudness of the clip. So we talk about these two terms. There's gain and there's also the term volume. They both deal with the level, the audio levels, and gain refers to the incoming. Think of that as like the input or the incoming level on the clip as it's brought into the system, the edit system. Volume, think of that as the outgoing, the volume or the output, the level of the audio going out. So right now we're doing the gain adjustments, and I'm doing that right up here on the source side. So let's tackle one of these. Here's an interview, and there's a variety of interviews that were shot for this story, different angles, and did it multiple times to catch different looks. So let's just listen to this one and see what the level looks like.
I guess everybody in the lab knows my whole life story.
So they're talking there, and then there's a little bit of laughter. Notice it peaked all the way up at 0. That's right at the top of the scale. We never want to go close to that. In fact, the rule we're going to use in adjusting the gain is looking at our peak. We never want to peak above -12. -12, we want that to be the ceiling. And that's right here on the scale in decibels full scale, minus 12. We don't want to peak above that. What we want is an average around this minus 18 mark. So this would be the average where when you look at the meter, the green changes color to yellow. So right at that point is a good reference level for averages. No peaks above minus 12. What that means is we can have peaks that bounce up and down between minus 18 and minus 12, but that never exceed minus 12. So here's what we're going to do. Listen to that again and pull it back. Okay, so we had a peak up near 0, so it's quite a bit above our target peaking level and our average level. So I could go in, and with this one clip selected, I can adjust the gain. There's a keyboard shortcut for that. I can hit G, that's simple enough, G for audio gain, and I'll zoom in, and we have this little modification box, and so I can do a couple of things. I can try to adjust the gain, say go up 3 decibels or take it down 3, and I can try to guess at how many decibels I need to go up or down. I can also use one of these two at the bottom, and this is what I like to focus on, is the normalizing the peaks. So I have 2 ways to normalize. I can normalize the maximum peak, so wherever the highest level of this entire clip is, I can normalize that to a specific level. Or I could do, if I do a whole group of clips, I'll talk about that in a second, if I do a whole group of clips, I can normalize the peak, all the peaks of each clip in the group to a specific level. So let's just take this one, for example, and I'll normalize it. Let me do that first. I'll normalize to, remember, we don't want to peak above minus 12, so let's make the maximum peak minus 12. So on this one clip, this interview number 2, we've just adjusted that, and let's see what the level looks like now. Playback. And here we go. Back to that part where they laughed and it got really loud up to... notice the laughter now peaks at minus 12. It was peaking at 0. We have normalized it, so that's the loudest this entire clip is going to get. Every other peak is going to be down below here. So here she is talking. Now in that instance, we probably normalized it a little too much because that laughter was so loud. The rest of the interview was quite a bit milder. The level was lower by comparison. So I'm going to hit G again, and I'm going to sort of tweak it a little bit. Instead of saying normalize to minus 12, I'll normalize it to about minus 10. Just allowing for a little bit of headroom for that laughter. So let's play it back now. Okay, the laughter peaked at minus 10, but everything else, all the other words, the basic talking that we're going to use in the story, they'll all be at minus 12 or below. So that's a pretty good way. All right, so I could go one by one through the source clips. I can take the first interview.
Mine were in my hand. And I had 2 cancers.
Notice we're peaking up above minus 6, about a minus 5. That's too high of a level, so I bring the gain down. So again, I could go through each clip and normalize each one. Or I could try this. I could grab each clip in the bin and normalize all of them as a group. Or I could just click on the bin. Notice these are all organized into the raw sound bites. All the raw interviews are all in one big bin. So I know they were recorded with the same microphone, the same location. So I can just hit this bin, and everything that's in it, I'll hit the G on the keyboard to bring up the gain. And when I make the adjustment now, it will adjust everything in that bin the same. Now here's this thing about normalizing the peaks again. If I do normalize the max peak, it's going to treat all those little clips as if they're one large clip. It's going to scan all of them to find out what's the maximum peak of all, and it's going to bring that down to minus 12. At the same time, it's going to bring the levels of all the other parts of the clips down in a corresponding way. So it might push everything down too much across all those clips. It would basically, one loud thing like that laughter we just heard, that would be the only thing that would peak at minus 12 in all the clips. So most of the talking and the other audio we really want would be way too low. So that's a little too severe. So I'm going to pick the option below that, normalize all peaks. So now Premiere is going to look at that bin of sound bites. It's going to look at each clip. It's going to see where each individual clip peaks, and it will adjust each clip so that all of them will peak at, let's say, minus 12. So now I can adjust all of them to one consistent level each individual clip in the group. And that's the big difference here. So if I'm doing a whole big group of clips, I do all peaks. If I'm just doing maybe one at a time, I might just normalize that one maximum peak. So let's try it. Let's go -12. Let's see what happens. Okay, just took a second. So let's open up the bin again, and let's grab the first one. This little soundbite here, let's play it.
More aggressive than mine. And
There we are.
just knowing that
Good.
there was nothing I could do.
So we're averaging about -18, and we had one maximum at about -13. So somewhere in this clip, somewhere in this section of interview, we will have a peak of -12. And then if we go to the next clip, it will also have somewhere in there, the loudest it will ever get in the whole clip will be -12.
I had the tissue expanders removed and the permanent implant.
But we notice that most of the peaks we want to get, again, an average of -18. Let's move up to where she's talking a little bit more. Here she goes.
Because I had lymph
There we go.
nodes removed from my arm, I cannot use my left arm for blood pressure checks or needle sticks or anything.
Okay, so we're averaging about -18, maybe a hair below that. We can always do a little bit of fine tuning way at the end of the process when we get in the timeline. But again, we're doing this way ahead of the game. We're fixing it before we mix it in the final timeline.